Hello and welcome to the Stretto onboarding training video. With this video, we're going to show you how to provision a business bundle user with a SIP account, as well as setting up the default corporate roster that includes messaging and presence. We're going to modify a profile with some attributes that are common to all users. We're then going to manually add a user. I'm going to show you how to do bulk importing of users, which is highly recommended if you have, let's say, 6 or more users in a group, which is typically the case. We're then going to do something very specialized at the end. It's around setting up attribute pools. So in most cases, you don't need to use this, but there are some PBXs out there, certainly older versions of Asterix that aren't using the new PJ SIP stack. They don't support, at least not elegantly, multi-device registrations. So there's a workaround that you can do using attribute pools. So I'll show you how to do that. And then the last thing, if we have time, I'll show you how to view end-user troubleshooting logs. Okay, so without further ado, let's get going. So the first thing I'm going to do is log into the partner portal. So if you watched the previous Counterpath Partner Portal training video, you know that we set up a distributor called Fruit. So I'm just going to log in as that distributor. You can see that if I look down on the hierarchy, I set up Apple resellers underneath Fruit, and then I've got Macintosh enterprises. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll go down to the, we can just go in right here. So I'm going to click on Provisioning View. Okay, and it opens up a window in Stretto. You can see we've got Fruit.com. You can see Apple Reseller, and in this case we've got Macintosh. Okay, so it's the Macintosh Enterprise group that we're going to be working with here. First thing to note is the device limits. So we've got 30 basic bundle users, we've got 20 business bundle, and we've got 10 Salesforce. So for this example, we're going to provision several business bundle users. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is go to the profile that's represented by this wheel. So it's the business bundle that I'm interested in for this demonstration. So in this, you're going to go through the attributes, you're going to edit the attributes, and you're going to set those attributes that are common to all users. You could, every time you add a user, go through the process of changing these attributes, but it's a lot easier to do it at this level because all the attributes will be inherited. Okay, so let's go down the list. So the SIP account name, so every user will have a SIP account name, and we'll just call it, well in this case, let's call it Macintosh SIP server. Okay, so that's that. The authorization name, display name, that's going to change based on who the user is, so all that stuff's fine. The SIP domain, so that's common to all users. In this case, I'm just going to use the Counterpath domain just so that I can demonstrate how it works. So I'm going to put in some of our own PBX stuff. So I'll just put domain as counterpath.com. Okay. The SIP proxy. So we happen to use an SBC. So if you don't have an SBC, then you wouldn't need to fill this in, but Counterpath we do, so I'll put that in, counterpath.com. Okay, and put in the port number, which is 15060. Okay, and voicemail, that's 6000 of what we use to access the PBX voice system. And I'm just going through the list here. I think everything else is good. You can make some changes around some of the features. This is sort of advanced stuff. Say you don't need to worry about any of this. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and save that. Okay, so now I'm going to click on the user level. So I click there. You can see there's no users in the group yet. That will change. So I'm going to click on New, and I'm going to add my first user. So the first one I'll make it myself. So Bruce, Macintosh.com. That's the default domain, so you don't have to add that. Provisioning password, so this is the password that you want to use, that the end user will use when they log in the first time, when they launch their Bria Stretto client. So I'm just going to put something really easy, 1, 2, 3, 4. I recommend you use something a little trickier than that. For the email address, we'll just put Bruce at Macintosh.com. And this email address is only used if you want to send messages, the admin wants to send messages to a particular set of users. So I'll put it in just to be thorough. The profile is the business bundle. We've shown you that already. XMPP roster. So with the business bundle, you automatically gain access to the corporate roster feature. So I suggest that since you paid for it, you'll make use of it. So you just click on I am roster and we take care of the rest. And then I'm going to scroll through some of these attributes that need to be set on a per user basis. So let's start, see the SIP account name that was inherited from the business bundle profile. The authorization name, okay, so because I'm using my counterpath credentials, I'm going to put 2250. Display name, we'll just put Bruce, should suffice. The password, so this is our SIP password, so I'm going to paste it. I copied it from somewhere else. Okay, and then the username, so we use 2250 as well. SIP domain, that's already set from the profile. And everything here looks good. Now I'm going to go down to the bottom because with the corporate roster, you have the ability to add what we call vCard information. So for example, the given name, so I'm going to put Bruce in there. Mobile number, so I'll put my mobile number. And do this, let's say it's 000. And I can put a different number for my office if I want. So I'll just go 3000, let's say. Okay, and I think that's good. So I'm just going to save that. Okay, and now the last thing that I recommend doing, especially if you're demonstrating this to customers, is to actually upload an avatar. It just makes the corporate roster look that much better. So now that I've saved myself, I'm going to just do an upload. I'm going to grab an image, just save it, and submit it. It's going to do the resizing for me automatically. You can see that it was successful. Okay, so I'm all set. Now at this point, I recommend that you actually try the profile before you set up any other user. So let's try this user out. So the easiest thing for me to do is to bring up my Bria Stretto Mac client. So just move this over. Just hide this. Okay, and here we go. Okay, so I'm going to log in as Bruce at Macintosh.com. My password is 1234. Okay, so this represents the first time as a user logging in. I'm going to sign in and see what happens. Okay, so I've been able to go in there. You can see this notice. I run some Jabra software that enables me to have integration with my Jabra headset, so that's why it's reminding me or warning me that it wants to access the client, which is fine. You can see that my present status is available. That means the IM roster is working perfectly, and it also tells me that the Macintosh SIP server that I set up, that's working as well. Okay, so everything's looking good there. You can see I have access to screen sharing, so if I wanted to share my screen, I can just do so. It's going to ask me which monitor, so I don't actually need to do that. And everything else looks good. So under contacts, there's no one else for me to look at because I'm the only person in the group. But I'd say so far so good. Okay, so I'm going to put that away. Now let's go back and add some more users. Okay, so if you want to add users in bulk, what I recommend doing is you can click on users and you can just go, let's take this user, I guess, download. So I'm going to download all the users. And what it's doing, it's setting up a CSV file. So it's called Macintosh.com users. So I'm just going to save that. Okay. And then we're going to look at this. Okay. So the easiest thing for me to do is just take what I've already created. I'm going to copy it. And let's insert that, and okay, I'll do another copy. Okay, and insert that one as well. Okay, so let's say I'm going to set up 3 users. I could make it 30 users, so it's whatever we want. Just going to extend this so you can see it properly. Okay, so let's say the second user's name is Peter. I'll just put in Peter. Their email is Peter. Now for the password, this AES, it means it's encrypted. So for anyone new that I'm adding, I have to actually specify in plain text what that password is. 234, 1234, just to keep it simple. Okay, and then here, I have to, in plain text, put in the new credentials. So credentials, do that. Okay, and yeah, normally this would change. And I'm just going to keep scrolling over. You'll see that most of the settings we didn't actually put anything other than the default values. So if you're using the default values, you don't have to change anything. You just leave it blank. It only overrides the ones that have values. And as I move across, you'll see some of the vCard fields right at the very end. So we'll just go there. It's all alphabetical, so it starts with X. So let's say we said Peter. I'll put Richard here. Richard, I'll change the numbers. So just put 1, 2, 3, 4 as an example. And here we'll put 4, 3, 2, 1 is the mobile. And let's say the office number. Let's say we don't have an office number for either of these two. We'll just get rid of those. Okay, I think that's good. Yep, so I've blanked those out. Okay, okay, so I think we're all set. So I'm just going to save that. Okay, and then we'll get rid of it. So save is what I want to do. Okay, now I can just click on upload. So it's going to prompt me for the name of the file. So that's this one here. I'm going to open that. Okay, so it's chosen the correct file. Roll back on error. I would just use the defaults, but auto manage usernames, that's fine. Update existing user records with uploaded file, that's fine. And with fail if an attribute's not found in the group. Okay, so I'll submit that. It's uploading and success. One thing I forgot to do is upload the avatars. So for Peter, I'm just going to click here, go, and we're going to upload. Okay, I'm going to pick this one here. Okay, I'm going to open. It's going to automatically resize for me. It's uploading. Okay, that worked. If I want to see if it worked, I just click it there, and you can see what happened. Okay. The other thing you can check if you want to make sure that all the corporate roster is working correctly, you can just go to the group level. You can look under XMPP users, and if by chance they're not all there, you can just click on this button, Synchronize Users, and it'll make sure that everyone's been immediately added to the roster. Okay, so now I'm going to bring over my Android soft phone client for you to take a look at. Let's do that. Okay, so I will log in as Richard. Okay, log in. And the account is registering. Okay, looks like the phone's ready. Under settings, if I want to look at the accounts, you can see the Macintosh SIP server, so that's up and running. Those little gray bars just to the right of the circle, next to the left of Macintosh SIP server, that tells me that push is enabled for this account. That is the push notification service. And you can see XMPP is working as well, and that I've got it synchronized across all devices. Okay, so now if I look under my contacts, under buddies, you can see that Bruce is available. So Bruce is the Mac desktop user. I can bring that over in a second, so we're going to look at that side by side. Now what I'm going to do is I'll bring over my Mac client, so you can see I'm logged in as Bruce here. So on the Android, I'm logged in as Richard, and on my Mac client, I'm logged in as Bruce. So you can see Bruce, you can see that Peter's offline, you can see his picture, Richard's available, and conversely on my Android device, I can see that Bruce is available. And if I wanted to send a message, for example, let's say to Richard, I could just do this. Okay, and I'll just go just a test. Okay, send that. Okay, and you can see that's just arrived. Okay, so that's perfect. Okay, so we've provisioned a Business Bundle user. We've made changes to the profile, the Business Bundle profile that is. We've added a user. We've done the bulk importing of users. And now, in the special case of a PBX that does not allow a given user to log in from multiple devices simultaneously, so that's what I would call multi-device registrations, I promised I would show you how to set up attribute pools. Okay, so let me proceed to that right now. Okay, so let's suppose for Macintosh.com that attribute pools are required. So what I'll do is the first thing, I'll just hover over the folder itself, and oops, let me just do a left click here and add a new attribute pool. So it's asking me what attribute I want to actually put into a pool. So I'm going to scroll up to the top, and it's typically it would be account 1 SIP credentials dash username. So what we're doing, in fact, is each device that belongs to a user will have a different username. So typically you have one common username that that user can use across all the devices, but for these older PBXs that may not support multiple device registration, this is the workaround. Okay, the pool type, so we want user-specific per device values. Okay, so I'm going to save that. Okay, and you can see what's happened here. We've got this little cylinder icon, and we've got this, I can extend that out. Okay, so we've got this username attribute pool. And now let's suggest that, or let's assume that, let's add provision username. So let's go with Bruce. Okay, so I choose Bruce. And let's say instead of 2250, I have 22501. Okay, I'm going to save that. Let's add another one. So I'll add, this is to Bruce again. Okay, so let's say 2250-2. And let's say I'm going to allow myself up to 3 simultaneous devices. So I'm going to add another one. Okay, Bruce. Okay, and 22503. This is a little bit painful, but this is the workaround. And if I wanted to add, an attribute for, let's say Peter, I just can do that here as well. And I don't know, in this case, I could put 2200-1. Okay, so let's save that. Okay, and now when you go back to the user itself, so what you'll see if I click on Bruce and I go down to that attribute, okay, let's give this a little more space. Okay, so let's edit this. You can see under account 1 SIP credentials.username, it's asking me if I want to take from the pool. So I'd already defined 2250, but if I say take from the pool, it's going to use that pool that I just set up. So it's going to alternate between 2250-1-2-3. So as my third device comes through, it'll assign the third one, and then if a fourth device comes through, it'll recycle through the pool. One final thing I'd like to show is the troubleshooting logs. So let's say for whatever reason I'm having problems accessing the network and I can't get my software to work properly. Under troubleshooting, I can just go under support and I can send a log. Let's say I'm going to go log level debug. That's the maximum log level. You send log. So I'll just say this is just a test for the training video. Okay, please call me at my phone number if I want, 294-0620 as an example. Okay, so I'm going to send that log report for my Mac. Okay, and let me do something similar just so you can see how that works on my Android device. Let's say it's having an issue there. I can move that over. Okay, so under Advanced Settings, if I go there, go right to the bottom, and ask me if I want to send logs. I've got verbose logging on, which is good. I'll just send a log. Ask me if I'm having a technical issue, so let's pretend that I am, and it's sending a log. In this case, it's giving me a number. So let's say I want to share that, so I can just whatever, I can message that to somebody if I wanted to. In this case, I'll just cancel. Okay, and hit OK. Okay, so now that I've sent the log, let's see if we can find the log in the account. So you just go to Client Traces. You can see that here. Click on that. The group that I want to look at in this case is it's Macintosh, so just go there. Okay, and then I click on the search. It's going to show me the 2 logs that came through. So let's look at the bottom one here. Okay, I have the option to save it if I want, or I can just view it right on the screen. So let me do that. Without going into too much detail, it basically shows you it's Bria Stretto, tells you the version number, tells you that it's running on a Google Pixel, shows you what version of Android I'm using, and then it's got the SIP sequences here, so you can see what messages were sent back and forth. And also further down, it's got all the attribute settings for this particular software.